Welcome to Changed for Good, Life Elevated Through Christ with LSI Studios. In this podcast, we explore the ways in which Jesus Christ can make a lasting and elevated change in our lives. Because of Him, we can become more than we were and also receive grace for where we are on our journey. I'm your host, Britta Benyon. Okay, tonight I have Sam Yamamoto with me. Am I saying that right?
Yes. Yep.
Such a cool last name. We'll get into that, I think, a little bit.
Thanks.
But thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we're so happy to have you and to just kind of dive in a little bit to some of your story and some of your more recent experiences. So why don't we start off with tell us a little bit about you and kind of where you are right now, and then if you want to backtrack.
Sure. Yes. So
from there.
I'm 50. I just hit 50. I hit that age.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thanks. The AARP letter age. It's kind of a weird age.
Yes.
We are now empty nesters, so my 3 children, 2 of which are married, and 1 moved to California. And I'm married, of course, to Marion.
Awesome.
27 years. And I'm a chiropractor. And
cool.
I guess that's where I'm at.
Yeah, that's where you are. I know one of your daughters. She's a super
Was
sweet
it
girl.
Samara, I think.
Yes, Samara.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
a great girl.
Dynamic.
Good kids. Yes. Yeah. Yes. So you guys did a good job. I think they're awesome
I don't
kids.
Sometimes I think they just come that way. So.
I hear you there. Some kids are pretty amazing.
Yeah.
All on their own too. But so why don't you tell me about your upbringing, where you're from, a little bit about that.
So I'm originally from Hawaii, Oahu, a little town called Waianae, on the west side of Oahu. That's the main island, if you know Hawaii. I grew up there till I was about 17, and then we moved to Mesa. My parents were... It was interesting because that time there was lots of families in Hawaii that decided to just move. It was like this... Looking back on it, it was like this call. There were so many people from Hawaii that just moved, and so many of them ended up in Mesa.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot. There was opportunity, I think, that was a big part of it. And then I think there was 5 members of our little church in Waianae that ended up moving to Mesa. Wow. So we ended up there my senior year, Mesa High.
Oh, wow.
Funny.
I graduated from there, too.
Oh, really?
Small world.
What year?
2001.
Okay. So I was a little...
Yeah,
that was 1990.
Nice.
Yes. I went from... the mascot in Hawaii was Sea Rider. So there's this buff dude sitting on a shark. It was very cool, very intimidating to a jackrabbit, Mesa High.
That's right. Very intimidating.
Met a lot of people there, a lot of great people, and it was a good move. I didn't necessarily like it at the time, but it turned out to be a good move. Met lots of friends and ended up serving a mission. That was interesting. I wasn't sure at the time if I didn't really think about it, a mission. It just had some beliefs. There was things I definitely believed, but I didn't feel like, I don't know. I can't explain it very well. It wasn't on my mind, and so we just happened to have a lot of missionaries, and all of them were my friends who ended up leaving, and it seemed like the thing to do.
Yeah, the thing to do, kind of follow. And you grew up as a member of the Church of Jesus Christ.
I grew up as a member of the church. So went to church pretty much every Sunday. So there's I felt lots of spirit. I had a testimony.
Yeah.
I was well practiced, I guess, in the church. And then when it came to the mission, someone asked me that, and I thought, I don't know. I never really thought about it. And here all my friends went, and I decided, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
And then I remember waking up in the mission field, in the missionary training center that first morning. I got up, and it just hit me all at once. Did you know what you just did? What you just signed up for? 2 years, and here we go. And then I realized I wasn't ready. I didn't feel ready. I didn't have this, what I felt missionaries should have, like this testimony and this strong belief, and like you should leave on a mission because you're ready and because you want to, and you have this feeling and like you want to go, and I didn't have any of that, and I was kind of second guessing, but here I was. So
Yeah.
I started, I just studied and prayed a lot, very intently, probably more than I ever had. Well, more than I ever had. And as earnestly, as intently as I could. And got some very profound answers. So, yeah.
About, I'm sure that you were probably asking very specific questions at that
I was.
point. And you're how old, right, when you
19.
served? 19.
Yeah, 19
and now
years
missionaries go out at 18, but
Yeah.
at the time,
At the time, it
you're
was
only
19.
19 years old.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know much at 19. You have some confidence about you and this unreal confidence, but you really don't know anything.
Right.
So, yeah, my questions were really basic. It was, is there a God? And yes, there is, and I came to know that definitely there's a God.
Yeah.
In fact, it's more personal than that. He's a heavenly Father. He's my creator, my Father.
Yeah.
And your Father.
Yes.
And then Jesus Christ. That was probably the most profound testimony I had, was of him and his divinity and his life and his mission and how he affects or can affect all of us.
Yeah.
And has a great impact on our lives if we want him to.
Yeah.
Healing and peace and all sorts of things, miracles.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
That was probably my strongest testimony, was of him. And then all sorts of things like the Book of Mormon and Joseph Smith and that.
Mm-hmm.
So
kind of built from there, which I love. You said most important one, and it is Christ. That testimony of him, and then yes, it can build from there on these other things that we believe in and understand, and that's awesome. And I love that you bring up that you took that time and that effort to just fast and pray a whole lot. Because I think that's really, that's really what it takes. I mean, it makes me think of stories in the Book of Mormon of people who did fast and pray oft, is how they'll say it. Or because really to find these answers, we have to go to God and we have to be sincere about it. Like we have to really want to know. And it actually makes me think of this verse that I was just reading yesterday, I think it was, in 1 Nephi. I'm just going to read part of it real quick. And it came to pass that I, Nephi, beheld the pointers which were in the ball. So this was something they found in their journeyings in the wilderness, and it was kind of like a director to them, these arrows that would show them where to go. And it said, they did work according to the faith and diligence and heed which we did give unto them. And it explains that there would be a new writing that would come out upon them, and it gave them understanding concerning the ways of the Lord, and it was written and changed from time to time. And then he says again, according to the faith and diligence which we gave unto it. And I think, obviously, in our day, we don't all have this little director that points. I mean, God really needed to help them out to know where to go.
Yeah, right.
In the wilderness. But in our lives, we have what we might call the Holy Ghost or the Spirit, right, that can direct and guide us in the same way. And it is the same process. We have to have faith and we have to have diligence, like that fasting, that praying. And then we will get those promptings and that guidance. And then it says and then he says, and thus we see that by small means the Lord can bring about great things. Yeah. And it's so simple, but it's so important.
And it builds.
Yeah.
Just this one testimony.
Yeah.
Is there a God? Do you actually live? Do you exist?
Yeah.
And I had that confirmation, that feeling, and that one moment I didn't feel anything, and the next moment I just know.
Yes.
Yes. I'm here.
That's so cool. So where did you serve your mission?
Spokane, Washington.
Awesome. And it sounds like it was a great experience.
It was a great experience. I think every missionary thinks their mission was the best, and it probably was a pretty good mission. Mine happened to be the best.
Yours was the best, okay.
You just feel that way, because every missionary feels like that. Because when you go, you truly forget about yourself. You leave everything behind, and you're so... The mission is structured in kind of simply, though. Mm-hmm. What's your purpose? You're just testifying of Christ. Right. And you go and you serve lots of people. Mm-hmm. So it's not about you. There's no dating. You don't watch movies. There's all the things that you did before. You're limited to that. And so that your focus is really about serving Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
by testifying and helping others in lots of different ways.
Helping others, in lots of different
So
ways.
you're bound to have good experiences.
Yes. Oh, yeah, for sure. And I think that each mission is, the Lord sends you to a specific place. So it's almost like He knows where you will grow the most. So therefore, each missionary is going to feel like, this was perfect for me. And it was the best experience, and the best mission, right? However you want to say it. But because it's hand-tailored by God, and which, if our lives are directed by Him in that way, then we're bound to keep having those awesome experiences. You're just going to keep having
it, exactly.
Yeah. So you returned home from your mission, and
it was 2 years
was
later.
That a transition for you a little bit?
Yeah. When you come off a mission, you have a companion who's there with you constantly.
Yeah.
You read constantly, you're praying constantly, you're serving constantly, you're always talking about Jesus Christ and about His gospel. And you're finding ways to share that with people, and you find opportunities, and then, you're in an airplane, and you fly home, and you're still in that mode, but you're released. You have this, your calling as a full-time missionary, that season's done. Not that you stop being a missionary. There's always this call to, and you want to share it, because it's true, and it made you so happy, so why not share it?
Right.
So, but that was a transition.
It's just not full-time anymore.
We want you to date women. I wasn't supposed to even look at them in 2 years on a mission. So, there was a fun transition.
Right.
Took about a month.
An adjustment. Takes time,
it was a little bit of adjustment.
For sure. Well, that's awesome. And then you eventually found your wife and...
I did.
Moved on
at a country dance.
Oh, fun.
It was a church-sponsored country dance. I think they still have it down in Mesa.
Oh, neat. Yeah.
There's a couple of stakes of singles down there. And when I was single, I think there were 2 stakes. And I think there's 5 now. I'm not positive. So just lots of singles.
Groupings of singles, essentially, and then broken up into different groups.
Yes.
Is what the stake would mean,
Yes. Yeah. So
cool.
We would meet at a building, and there would be 200 to 400 men and women who showed up looking to dance with someone, and hopefully make a connection. And that's where it happened.
That's where it happened. Awesome. So great. Well, and I mean, again, life moves forward. You're married, you're having children, you're starting a career. So why don't you tell us a little bit about, you had shared with me that you've had some neat experiences about just inviting people, coming off a mission conversation. This is perfect. Inviting people to come under Christ, essentially, right? Sharing with them a little bit about what you know and how much it's blessed your life. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah. So in my profession, I'm a chiropractor.
Yeah.
And I get to serve lots of people every day. Quite a few of them every day.
Yeah.
And they come in with lots of different health problems. Chiropractic is physical medicine, but you're a person. These people that come in, they're a person, so they come in with all sorts of things. I think it was it Elder Eyring who said, if you approach people like there's something terribly wrong with them, you'll be right 50% of the time.
Yeah.
And then he said, and I practiced that and I realized that was a really low number. It's more like 80, 90%.
Yeah.
And so I get to see these people come in, and he's right. They come in and they have headaches or whatever they're coming in with, and they're looking for help. And so many of them it's just much more than that. When you start talking, and you just like on my mission, you just fall in love with these people because you're there to serve them.
Yeah.
And when you love them, you just want to do anything for them. You're trying your best to help them in whatever way. So inevitably, you get to know them a little better, and they share things. They often share all sorts of things about their lives, and lots of people have really hard pasts that still haunt them today. And then the longer you're in these stressful situations, abuse and divorce and just really awful things that people suffer, they express themselves physically. So these people come in with I've got this headache, and as you ask questions and you talk, then I see why you would have headaches, and fibromyalgia and things that sometimes we can't explain. I don't know why you have it.
Yeah.
Stress has a lot to do with it.
Yes.
I'm convinced. So we talk about that, and I'm not their counselor, but sometimes people just need to talk.
Yeah.
And share, and then And it just kind of happens. Sometimes we end up just talking about God, or we talk about the gospel, and they're looking for answers. And sometimes I bring it up when I feel like it's right. I don't push anything. I have no agenda other than to help them. So, and then sometimes they often ask. They ask about, trying to think of an example. Sometimes they just want to they talk about prayer, and we end up praying together, just right there. I've done that many times. There's been times where it just felt right, and I asked if they wanted one of those formal blessings that we give in our church, a blessing, laying on of hands blessing.
Yeah.
Which, if you're a member of any church, that you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
It's it's a healing blessing. And sometimes it's physical healing, but most of the time they're, what they're sharing is so emotional that they just need, I don't know, I just can't help myself. And I ask if they need a prayer, or can I offer you a blessing? And sometimes they say, no, thank you, appreciate it. And other times they're happy to receive it.
Yeah.
So then, we end up talking about God, about Jesus Christ. Happens so much, I would say maybe 20% of my day, or I would say 20% of the week would be some gospel-related topic that just found its way there because of, health problems or things that's on their mind. Yeah.
That's really neat.
So we just end up talking about it. It just kind of happens. And then once in a while they ask me, which church I go to, and I tell them I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ. And then some people know that church and others don't.
Yeah.
And then they ask about, then they just start asking questions. I find that a lot of people are looking they just want to feel better. They're there for some physical medicine, but everyone wants to feel good. And so many people don't because of all sorts of things. So I think if you're a strong believer in Jesus Christ and you have access to that Spirit, and you were baptized and then you receive the Spirit, that's how it's done in our church, laying on of hands, and then you receive this gift, the gift where the Holy Ghost is with you constantly. Then there's a light about you, and there's a peace about you, and a happiness about you. And I hope that's with me all the time.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get moody, I'm human too. So sometimes I get angry about something or upset about something or emotional about something. But I'd like to think that most of the time it's there. And I'd like to think that that's also healing for them when they come in and they have this opportunity to feel the Spirit, maybe through me. And when they do it, that's healing. So that just opens up conversation. So it just happens often naturally.
So neat. And it's so powerful how it can be so simple, and yet be so profound and, so strengthening to people. And,
It is. And they'll often leave happier. And so do I. Have this opportunity to help someone.
Yeah.
Thank you for trusting me,
For sure. Well, and I love that you you brought up headaches, and I think I feel it's important to mention here, like, obviously we as members of the church aren't immune to all of these things either,
Right.
Like, I think that, just because we're members of the church, and like you said, we try to have, we strive to, right? Like, ideally we strive to have the Spirit with us always, but it doesn't mean that we don't have some of these same human ailments that other people do, or maybe backgrounds that were really rough, or whatever it might be. Because, I think just recently I was linking headaches to things I was thinking, I was like, I get in these negative thought loops or thought patterns, or feeling slightly stressed over whatever it is, like lots of things. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I have this headache, and I really don't like them. So, I have my own ways of trying to cope with that, so that I'm preventative versus I'm just going to grab a pill every time ibuprofen. But trying to be preventative so I don't get them in the first place, which, for me is things like, watching what I'm thinking, the thoughts that I have, and making sure that I'm going to God in prayer and having that spiritual life,
Right.
because that helps a ton,
Yeah.
It helps my perspective, and it helps my, just the way that I view people,
Yeah.
all of it. I do little things like yoga or whatever, right? Like just lots of little things can help, but none of us are immune, I think that we all can be strengthened, by, I don't know, just seeking help from someone, somewhere, and sometimes that's chiropractic work and other times it's others, but I think it's so neat that you have found that in your profession and in your job that that's what you're providing is healing, and it's not always necessarily just physical.
Yeah.
But like you said, so often it's mental and emotional and these other things that we carry, and it manifests itself in a physical way, like a headache or back
Right.
pain or whatever it is, because of the things that we feel and think about and stress about, But yeah, I think that's so neat. And I think that the way you explained it when you were telling me about it, I think was so neat, because you say, you really care about the people who come to see you, and that you pray daily over your patients.
I do.
And that is so neat. So,
Sometimes it's with them, but most of the time, first thing in the morning, I'll just
Yeah.
go over the list and ask a blessing on every one of them.
Mm-hmm.
I ask a blessing on myself, that I'll be mentally here, I'll be in the right place, that'll be all about them.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you're in the right place, and then God can help you.
Yeah.
If it's about me, then, well, that's pretty limiting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that, because it's so true. No matter what profession you have, maybe you just stay at home with your kids, whatever you do in life,
Right.
like that, God is in and out and weaving in through
Right.
all
All of it.
All of it.
And
Yeah.
it all
and
works
so,
that way. If it's
Yes.
about not you, if it's about someone else or the project or something else,
then
it's just better. It's so much better. And it is what Christ would have us do. Mm-hmm. If we profess to be Christians or followers of Jesus Christ, then, well, that's what he wants then.
Yeah.
Love others and serve others and
Right.
love your neighbor as yourself and all those things.
Right.
So
Oh, yeah, that's so good. And I love that you had mentioned that you ask him to send those who need help to you.
yes,
Or that could use your help specifically, and again, I think that's so beautiful. How well could we apply that to so many aspects of our
Yeah.
lives,
and it doesn't
where-
mean I'm going to sit there and just wait for the doors to just
That's true.
be kicked open.
Yes.
So then I go and work and
Yeah.
do what I can
And
to
you-
find
yes.
those people.
Good point. Yeah, because we're not just praying and then we sit and passively,
Right.
expect things and miracles to
You
happen in our
expect-
lives. Yeah.
He really likes effort.
Yes.
Like our President Nelson likes to say.
Yes.
God loves
the Lord
effort,
loves
so-
effort. You're right. Yeah. So I think that's so beautiful that you're like, then, they kind of find their way into your office because God sends them to you, which I think is such a neat way to view it. And also I think it's so true. I think that God, again, is interweaved in all of our lives so much so that we rarely recognize just how much. And the people that you meet every day and the person you ran into or the person if you get in a car accident, whatever, like there's all of these little things that can happen
is.
to us.
Yes.
It's somehow orchestrated or, and I don't know how all that works, but I love to remind myself of that because it's empowering to remember that God is there always. And that, I don't know, like there's hard things that happen too. And it doesn't mean that that's because God caused it or something. But I think that the more we look for him in our lives, the more we will see him.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
it's super cool.
I find if we're in the right place mentally, if we're willing to love people, like if we're in that mindset of love
Yeah.
and sharing and selflessness, then he'll make things happen.
Yeah.
It just happens. I remember I decided to test that once. Someone told me, yeah, so you just pray about it, to be open to serve someone and to maybe share the gospel with someone. So I decided, okay, I'm gonna say that in a prayer, and then I'm gonna really mean it and just focus on that.
Yeah.
And I got on a plane and I came back home. This was a vacation, and then I was gonna go back, but on the way there, I just remember I was standing next to this couple in front of me, and we just started talking, And I was going to allow whatever to happen just to happen. This is in God's hand.
Yeah.
I'll be ready. I'll wait for I'll be here for the opportunity once you present it. That's kind of how I looked at it. So, and I just kept that, focus. And then this older couple, we talked. We were waiting in line, the Southwest where you're waiting so he's there in front of me and I'm standing behind him. And then we end up talking and then we go through and we end up just sitting next to each other. So I'm by the window and the two of them are sitting here. And then we just started talking, and how did it end up? She was German, and then she was talking about Germany and how much she loved Germany, and then somehow we ended up talking about a church, and she asked if I went to a church. She brought it up, like, yeah, I do go, and then I mentioned my church of Jesus Christ, Latter-day Saints, and then she heard a little bit about it, and I said, yeah, our president, in fact, President Monson at the time, had a lot to do with Germany and promoting the church there, and he, I forget the name of the book, but it might have been his biography. So I tell her about this, and she was so intrigued about our president and Germany and how much work he did there. Oh, I told him the story about how he memorized this whole manual and then went across. And do you remember that story?
Oh, yes.
And then he crosses the border, and you can't take anything with you, but he wanted to go and deliver this manual, but he couldn't take anything, and it's this, I don't know how big it was, and he has this photographic memory. He gets to the other side, and he's prepared to just write it out manually, and turns out there was a manual there. Oh. Anyway, waiting for him. Anyway, I told her this story, and she was just super intrigued by it, so I gave her my number, and I told her I'm happy to share with you more on that. So, yeah, it does work.
Right. So cool.
So just to be in that mode and to pray about it.
And it sounds like you do a really good job of that just on a daily basis. Just trying to look for those opportunities to pray for people and to just have that love and light about you of who you're trying to be, or disciple of Christ. You're trying to live that life, and it's manifested in so much of what you do every day.
I really try to. I can't say I was always like that.
Yeah.
Probably the first 10 years of as a chiropractor. It wasn't like that at all. It was a different focus. Starting out, I didn't know what I was doing, and but that morphed over time. You just start with the prayer and be open to it, and just watch it happen. And the more you do it, it's natural.
Yeah, so good. Just natural to share something that you love and something that helps you with others. And
people aren't offended by it, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, when it happens naturally, you're just sharing. There's lots of patients who are not, they have no faith. And they tell me that because something comes up, and that's okay. Yeah,
absolutely.
So, and if they find out I am, sometimes I will, they're okay with that too. So there's really you don't have to worry about it.
Right.
It's not a fearful thing.
Yes. Yeah, it's a faith thing.
It's a faith thing.
Like so many things are.
And naturally, it just...
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Such a good example for, I think, so many of us who maybe want to go into that fear mode, but to remember, no. The gospel is about faith, and it's about trusting in God and knowing that things will happen as they should, and especially as we are in the right mindset and prayerful, then there's nothing to be afraid of in sharing or in wanting others to find a joy that you do, or to find that light of Christ that we, that we love so much.
That we love.
It's
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's so wonderful. Is there anything else you want to share before we wrap things up, or before we end it?
Just that I know I'm 50, right? I've already established that, but being 50, you learn some things, and I have come to know that there is a God the Father, and He really, really does love us. He's extremely patient. He has, as one of our church leaders has said, has only ever had imperfect people to work with. And it must be really frustrating to be Him. But He's going to do it. because he loves us. There is a God. And then there is a Savior, Jesus Christ. And he is just anxious to help us and build us up and help us to be part of a great work like this, as simple as it is, just talking to people about the gospel and about faith. Mm-hmm. He's anxious to help us to do that, to promote his work, mm-hmm. and to share his name and his work. And I know it's a real work, and I love it. And I love him. So that's a little bit of my faith.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Thanks for asking.
Yes. Well, and thank you. Thanks again for being here and for the good you are doing in the world. I mean, and we didn't even bring up things that you do in church, like we've mentioned before that we have callings and we have responsibilities that we carry out in our church. And, I know you're involved in that, and your wife, and, it's an ongoing thing. There's so many different ways that we try to weave Christ into our lives, and so thanks for the good you do.
And thanks for what you do.
Great.
I know you have a pile of kids and a husband who works, and you have a church calling too, and here you are doing this.
Yeah, I love it. I love it so much. So, all right. Well, thanks again. We'll see you soon.
Appreciate it.
Thanks. Bye. I want to thank our guest again for being here today. I pray that as you listened, the Spirit whispered to you the specific actions you can take as you move forward in your daily life. I know Christ is there, and that following those promptings will bring you closer to Him and to lasting and elevated change. May God be with you in your journey. To find out more, visit us at lsistudios.com, and to learn more about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, visit comeuntochrist.org or reach out to us.